Final round again, usually it's the top 2 point getters, but it's everybody this round. If I could pull up the graphic, here we go. So final round, simple as this. The winner, which will be among 4 contestants this go around, gets 10,000 points. It really is the great equalizer of this 8 o'clock spot tournament. Again, Mike Guido is in first over second place by 26,000 points. This 10,000 points for anybody can go a very long way into putting them in a position to get that number 1 spot and to win this tournament come June. But listen, we talked about this game back and forth, the bigger storylines, the Mahomes' legacy, what it'll mean for Purdy, all this, all that. Ultimately, it comes down to who the heck wins the game. Is it San Francisco? Is it Kansas City? So I'll just ask you straight up, go across the board here. Starting with you, Dylan. Who wins Super Bowl 58 and why?
Give me the Chiefs. As much as I don't, I'm a Patriots fan. I want Brady's legacy to last for eons. I want him to be the GOAT. But what Mahomes is doing is undeniable. And I believe just the nonstop coverage, the fact that the Chiefs are so underneath the microscope of just every single little cog, and the fact that Andy Reid, no less, is such a great coach. And I think he's in Kyle Shanahan's head. We touched on this a little bit before, especially with Kyle Shanahan, his continuous blunders in big playoff games. It's tough to overcome that. And, it would be easier if he was going against like a lesser established team. Like if the Ravens made it, I'd be more leaning towards the Niners. But I just think with just how great the Chiefs are overall, and Mahomes, and I really am big on that defense of the Chiefs. I think they're just so solid, and they are a big reason why they even got this far. Because if the Chiefs had a bad defense, Mahomes would have been out long before, especially with some of those slow starts that the Chiefs had earlier in the playoffs and just in the season in general. But that defense kept them in time and time again, and they have some really good names. Talk about their D line with Frank Clark and their linebackers, their second. You could go on and on. But I just really think this is the Chiefs' time to really establish a new dynasty and a new age for the NFL, which is what they want to, which is like the big hole that Brady left behind. And I do firmly believe that this is going to be the Chiefs' time to stamp that.
Very well could be. We'll see. To you, Dalton, who wins Super Bowl 58 and why?
It's the Kansas City Chiefs for me, and really what it comes down to is 2 things. It's recent form and it's the quarterback position. I liked Buffalo to beat Kansas City. I talked about it on this show. I liked Buffalo to beat Kansas City because of the way Buffalo had been running the ball, the way their defense had been playing, and I thought Josh Allen was a good enough quarterback to potentially win if it became a back and forth game. Kansas City slayed that dragon. I liked Baltimore to beat Kansas City as well. I think Baltimore has the NFL's best defense. Kansas City's defense came out and outplayed them, found a way to get it done. I think the 2 toughest games for Kansas City in this playoff run are behind them. I think this becomes a little bit of a coronation. I would not be surprised to see this game get out of hand, and I'll tell you why. Number 1, quarterback play, Mahomes over Purdy. Not much of a doubt there. Who do we trust? Look, Purdy has proven a lot of people wrong, but this is a different type of stage. But for me, really what it comes down to is that 49ers defense has not been what it was all year. Green Bay moved the ball up and down the field on them. San Francisco had to come back desperately and barely win that game. We saw what Detroit did to them, jumping out to that huge lead, scoring 31 points against them. The Niners barely escaped that one. To be honest with you, I think there's a real argument to be made that the Niners are a little bit fortunate to be here. I think that defense is running on some fumes. I think this is just a case where you have a more polished team all around that has kind of showed us over and over again now that even if Mahomes doesn't have the more talented roster, he's more ready for the moment. And that defense is too. Their secondary is excellent. The linebackers are excellent. The defensive line's excellent. Dylan hit on all of that. This San Francisco team, I legitimately, for me, I would not be surprised to see a final score of like 20-7 in like a really boring game where Kansas City's defense just dominates it and Mahomes doesn't even have to do much. That's kind of where I see this going.
Yeah, I'm actually looking right now that you mentioned it being a low-scoring game, and listen, who knows? Maybe Kansas City is able to pull away rather quickly. Let's see, what is the over? Listen, Dalton, you're a betting guy. I don't know. Do you know the over/under off the top of your head? Because I'll pull it up here if you don't.
It was around 47. I'm sure it's moved some.
No, 47.5. That's where it's at.
47.5. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this: if you're getting plus money with Mahomes in this type of a game, his numbers against the spread when he's a favorite of less than 3 or he's an underdog are ridiculous. I mean, we're talking like 80% with those numbers. this is a smash spot for me with Kansas City getting 2 points.
Could be wrong. I don't think he's ever lost in the playoffs, by the way, as an underdog. Like, this is kind of where he thrives. To you, Alfred, who wins Super Bowl 58 and why?
So the Chiefs are going to win Super Bowl 58. And before I continue, for those of you who think that Vegas knows everything, just remember the Chiefs were the dogs last year, and they beat the favorite Eagles. They were 2-point dogs last year. I believe they're 2.5-point dogs this coming into this Super Bowl, I believe. So that's number one. Number two, what separates good from great is Patrick Mahomes and his ability to win. The greats always find a way to win. Like I've said several times on the course of this show, he has less to work with on his offense than Purdy does on his. But the guy, despite everything that's happened, because the Chiefs didn't have the dominant regular season that everybody thought that they would have, that they've had in previous years. Of course, they had the opening night stunner where Detroit beat them in their house. They had games where they lost to the Raiders and the lowly Broncos. So, and then they can thank Tyler Bass for going wide right for how they advanced in their first playoff game this year. So, we're not seeing the usual dominance, but again, the greats always find a way to win. That's why I call this man the Houdini of postseason football, because he just has it in him. He is a winner. That is an intangible that you just have to have and cannot teach. The guy's shorthanded, has the worst wide receiver core of any Super Bowl team that we've ever seen, and he still got his team there. Granted, he has the greatest tight end in all of football right now, but I think it comes down to how well Mahomes plays. If Mahomes is the Super Bowl winning Mahomes we've seen twice previously, it's no doubt that Kansas City is going to win this game. It may not be pretty, but I think that he's going to win the game. Like it was alluded to earlier, Brock Purdy, it's his first Super Bowl. Nobody even expected a Mr. Irrelevant starting quarterback to get to this point.
10 seconds down.
People wrong, but championship games are a far different stage.
Yeah, they are. And most of Kansas City's playoff wins, really all of them, have not been always aesthetically pleasing, but they've just somehow find a way to make a few more plays than the opponents. So Alfred's also got Kansas City. AJ, going to make it a clean sweep here? Is Kansas City win?
I'll try to make it a little more exciting, but yeah, definitely. I watched San Francisco, and they look beatable against Green Bay and Detroit in that first half. They have the pieces and the skill and play that they came out in the second half and were able to be victorious in those games. And I don't think if you get behind against KC, I don't think they'll have enough to pull off a victory. As we said throughout this cast, KC has a damn good defense, beat the Dolphins, holding them to 6 points, beating the Bills. And the Bills only had 1 touchdown in the second half, and beating the Ravens, who only had 3 points in the second half. So you look at the 49ers have only scored in the playoffs here 14 points in the first half, so a touchdown each in their games. So if that trend continues and KC shuts them down, locks them out essentially for that first half, and is able to just score consistently throughout the game, I just don't think San Francisco is going to be able to make that comeback. I just think KC's a little bit too consistent in their scoring. Now, I will make a prediction. I think it'll be a close game, 21-20 for KC. I think 49ers score 17 points in the second half. Make a game of it, but it's not going to be enough to win. Bold prediction, if I may. Rashee Rice wins MVP.
No, okay. We got a receiver winning MVP. Listen, Brady too. Brady's Super Bowl's a receiver got MVP. Deion Branch and Julian Edelman. Jerry Rice won one in the 80s. So listen, sometimes with these dynasties, the receiver gets the MVP. By the way, underrated story, and people are discussing who could win MVP if it's not Mahomes for the Chiefs. Could it be Travis Kelce? Fun fact: if Kelce were to win MVP, he'd be the first tight end in the history of the Super Bowl to accomplish such a feat. So it's never been done before. But if anybody can do it, it's Travis Kelce. But Rashee Rice, I like that. But the kid's been really coming on as of late. There's no question about it. So across the board. By the way, guys, I'm also going with Kansas City, so we got a 5-0 sweep across the board here, but there can be only one champion. Who made the best case for the Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl? As we dial up the victory music, the winner for the 8 o'clock spot this week is Dalton Brown, who wins once again on the 8 o'clock spot here on the Grid Network. Do we have the victory music? Is it playing? There it is. There it is. Your reaction, Dalton? You cut out there for a second. Say that again.
The first thing I'm going to do is take myself off mute. But look, I'm not surprised. I'm the greatest ever. No, I'm kidding. I think to continue to comment a little bit on the Super Bowl. To be honest, this Super Bowl is not for me as much about Mahomes. Like, yeah, the quarterback play is a reason why I like Kansas City, but I mean, I heard somebody say 17 points in the second half to be scored against Kansas City's defense. That is not happening. That is not happening. The problem for San Francisco in this game is they are not going to be able to score, and Kansas City is going to score early and then just put the clamps down on them. So that's my final take. If anybody wants to let me have San Francisco under 16.5 second half team total at any odds less than -200, I'll bet you on it.
Yeah, and that's Kansas City's kind of been their bread and butter. I'm just off the top of my head. They gave up 7. Their worst, I say that in air quotes, defensive performance was against Buffalo. They gave up 24, but only one kind of fluky touchdown against Miami in the first round, and then only giving up a single touchdown against the Baltimore Ravens, who were one of the more explosive offenses in football. And listen, this feels like it could be a defensive battle, but let's look at the comments here real quick before we get out of here. Mike Guido says, the Niners roster is way better, but Mahomes simply doesn't lose. That's kind of what you were saying, Alfred, earlier, talking about the sort of the intangible aspect of what Mahomes has been able to do, just sort of the refuse to lose. It sounds really, really cliche and really cheesy, really corny, but sometimes that really does come down to that. Barry Grant Jr. in the comments, it will be in one of the more boring Super Bowls, and the Chiefs will dominate, and me laughing my ass off. Listen, it's very well, that very well could be the case. And listen, the most boring Super Bowl, no offense, Dylan, that I can remember was that Super Bowl 53 Patriots Rams. That thing was a snoozer from start to finish. The halftime show sucked. It was bad. It was bad TV. It was not good. There's no question about that. But listen, hopefully, defensive battle or not, and I feel like it could kind of lean that way. I think this could be potentially a very, very fun and interesting Super Bowl. But shout out to everybody. Congratulations, Dalton Brown, once again the champion at the 8 o'clock spot. Shout out as well to Dylan, to Alfred, to AJ for competing this week. And it should be fun. Next week, 8 o'clock spot. We'll see y'all next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here on the Grit Network's YouTube channel and Twitter account. Reaction of the Super Bowl, a lot to talk about. So very excited to potentially be with some of these guys next week. So we might have a new panelist or two after the Super Bowl. But very excited. Congratulations to Dalton. Shout out to Dylan, to AJ, and to Alfred for a great show. We'll see y'all next week. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. And peace out. Happy Super Bowl.